Good morning. We're glad to have you here with us today. And my name is Dennis Morris, and I'm the minister for the Church of Christ in Jefferson, Texas. We want to consider some things that's talked about there in the Gospel of John, in John chapter 4. And notice what it says beginning there at verse 43. It says, "Now after 2 days, he departed thence and went into Galilee." Now prior to this, Jesus had spent time there in Samaria, talking to the Samaritans about who he is, his identity. This has reference to him talking to the woman at the well, and then finally being able to talk to the men of the city, and how that many believed because of what the woman said, that Jesus is the Christ. And then the men said that now we believe because we have heard him ourselves. And we need to hear Jesus. We need to hear what he has to say. And that's why we study in the Gospels, so that we will know what Jesus says about himself and the kind of life in which he lived, he being the very Son of God. Now going on, notice that it says this in verse 44. It says, "For Jesus himself testified that a prophet hath no honor in his own country." Now, if you go back, Jesus had been in Judea. He has left going back to Galilee. Instead of going around Samaria, he goes through Samaria and preaches unto them, which helps us to realize that Jesus was one who was not a respecter of persons. That is to say, he was not prejudiced. He did not allow the prejudice of his day to keep him from talking to anyone. And that's why he went to the Samaritans. The Jews did not like the Samaritans, but we find that Christ was willing to talk with them. Notice in verse 45, "Then when he was coming to Galilee, the Galileans received him, having seen all the things which he did at Jerusalem at the feast, for they also went unto the feast." I love the fact that Jesus spent 2 days there in Samaria, and the number of people who believed in him as being the Son of God. Then as he goes back into Galilee, we find that many of the Galileans also believed in Jesus. Why? Because they were there in Jerusalem for the feast, and this is having reference unto the Passover. And so while they were there, they saw the things that Jesus was doing. They saw the miracles that he did. Now those miracles were to benefit the person who was sick, that's true, but it was also to help produce faith in the lives of these individuals, that they might believe that Jesus is the Son of God. And notice now, as he goes back into Galilee, they believe in him. Why? Because they also had gone to the feast, and they knew what Jesus had done there during that time. Now, this particular statement that Jesus makes here, that a prophet hath no honor in his own country. Remember now, he was in Judea, and he had grown up there in Nazareth. And you would think that those were the individuals who would have believed in him because, number one, they knew him. Number two, because of the miracles that he did. Number three, because those miracles confirmed the message that he was preaching and that he is the Son of God. And yet it's interesting that Samaria believed in him and Galilee believed in him, and yet not many individuals believed in him there in Nazareth and also in Judea. We need to make sure that we believe in Jesus, that he indeed is the Son of God, and that we will respond in obedience unto those things that he will tell us to do. You'll find that Jesus said there in Mark chapter 16 and verse 16, "He that believeth and is baptized shall be saved." Let's make sure that we hear the Lord and that we're willing to receive him by obedience unto his will.